I'm about to show you how I move though. You get the memo. I say,
Hey, keep cooking with that dope, Mike.
I'm like, baby, why you leave me? She said, like, baby, I'ma get a bag and switch it up and watch they say. They don't like my style, they say I'm different, I'm too red. Put my whole up in the song to show you that I care. I'ma call your phone and I'm like, baby, do you care? I will feel the energy that you give me. If you hear my pain, would you still listen to me? Diamonds, they gon' dance and they still glisten on me. She gon' call my phone and I'm like, I don't feel your energy. I'm always gonna think about the thing that you did to me. Every time I...
Yo, it's your boy Smokes YT, aka Suckman K, man. We back with another video. Now this is part 3. Part 2 and part 1 is down in the comments, in the description, whatever you want to call it. But it's being boy Smokes YT. Not finna waste our time. And we out here. I believe this year undrafted free agency class is going to be more talented than last year's. As last year we had Deontay Harris, who came out from Assumption, on to be a kick returning threat and make an All-Pro and a Pro Bowl. And we had guys like Shy Tuttle, who became a diamond in the rough for a defensive tackle, and he's one of the most reliable defensive tackles on his team. Next we had guys like Emmanuel Butler, who only shown flashes in training camp, but couldn't find himself a roster spot, not even getting called up to the roster. We had little Jordan Humphrey, who got called up to the roster but only had blocking snaps due to his struggling with route running, but they have something to prove this year. We had a guy like Porter Gusto, who was very versatile, who was able to play the He's going to be a steal of this undrafted free agency. Mark my words. Y'all can write that down, clip that down. He's going to be a steal. As his strengths is, he's a thumper. He's a very good blocker. He is shifty, but his weaknesses is consistency. Sometimes he lacks explosiveness, but he had 887 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's going to be a steal. Next, we have this offensive lineman who is very talented and versatile, but the first one we're going to start off with is Calvin Throckmorton, who fell down way down in the draft, somehow landed in UDFA, and we got him. He was supposed to be projected 3rd round, but he's a very good tackle, as he has strengths. He has football IQ, his pass blocking, and his versatility. His weaknesses is mobility. He had an 87.4 blocking grade this season. That's sick. Next up, we have Darien Paulo, who Paulo started both at right tackle and left tackle at Utah, but his strengths is his size and his pass protection, but his weaknesses is his footwork. He's going to have to make an uphill battle to make the Saints roster because of the amount of the offensive tackle depth, but he's a good player. Next up, we have Jordan Steckler. Jordan Steckler is a guy that I do not know much about, but all I know, he's versatile. He said he was able to play the tackle position, the guard position, and he's able to play center. His strengths is his versatility and his run blocking and his pass protection, but his weaknesses is something that I don't know yet, but he can make a spot on his roster. Next up, we have the undrafted free agency wide receiver core. This wide receiver core is very talented, as we got the first up, Marquez Callaway. Marquez Callaway has a big chance of making his roster, as his speed and his height and his physicality can make a change on his team, as his strength is his versatility. He has long speed, his catching traffic is crazy, but his weaknesses is his route running. That's something he can develop over here. He's going to be very good. Next up, we have Joanne Johnson, which is my personal favorite, as his height, his physicality, and his knack for the ball can make a big difference on his team. As his strength is his catch radius, he's very physical, he has tremendous blocking, but his weaknesses is his route running. That's something they can both improve on. They can make changes on his team. Next up, we have Malcolm Roach. As Malcolm Roach can be a good defensive tackle on his team, as he did play linebacker in college, but He is going to need some time to develop and sit behind a veteran, but he's going to be good. As his strengths, he has a good run defense. He has a very high motor, but his weaknesses is pass rushing. He racked up 3 sacks and 40 tackles. His presence can be used on his team. He will be good. Next up, we have Joe Bachy. Joe Bachy is one of my personal favorites on his defense, as Joe Bachy is one of the best linebackers that we can have in the UDFA, as his ability to tackle, shoot through gaps, and stop the run can be used very well on his team. His strengths is his run defense, his tackling. He can shoot the gap pretty well, but his weaknesses is coverage. He racked up 3.5 sacks, 72 tackles, and 1 interception. Joe Bachy is going to be special. Next up, we have the cornerback room with Keith Washington and Tino Ellis. The first one we're going to start off with is Keith Washington. Now, Keith Washington can be used in his cornerback room, as you got guys like Patrick Robinson and PJ Williams who are inconsistent. But what we know, his strengths is he's physical, he's a good playmaker, and he's a solid tackler. And his weaknesses is size. He had 3 interceptions and 23 tackles. But if you can add a little bit of size on him, he could be a good corner on his team. Next up, we have Tino Ellis. Tino Ellis is one of my personal favorites, as his ability to play man coverage and play cover 3. He's going to be used very well on his team, as his strengths is his physical. He has good man coverage, but his weaknesses is press coverage. He had 13 tackles and 2 pass deflections, only playing less games, but he can be used very well on his team. Next up, and the last, we have punter Blake Gilligan, which this is making me think that Thomas Morstead is on his last leg and he's about to retire. So we bring in Blake Gilligan to sit 1 year behind him and do well. But his strengths is his kicking accuracy, his kicking strength. But his weaknesses, he's going to have to sit back this season. He averaged 42.2 yards per punt, but he's going to be special. But yo, y'all let me know, is this class better than last year? And who's y'all sleeper? It's been your boy Smokers YT, and we out here.
Cut me some diamonds. I'ma just run on them dividends. I got a boss, she be missing it. I love your ocean, I swim in it. Slaughter your black and we been in it. Whoop out the pie, we whipping it. All of my brothers be whipping it. All of my brothers be whipping it. I'm finna kiss me a vibe, yeah, yeah. You can just stay for the night, yeah, yeah. I buy you something to play, yeah, yeah. She come on wasting my time, yeah, yeah. Why you be wasting my time?